Hello everyone, my name is Michael from Polygon Island and I'm back. Welcome to a new tutorial. So this tutorial is going to be over this like lava glowing thingy thing. I don't know, it's on the screen. But basically I'm going to be teaching you how to make that because I made it like last night and it's pretty cool. So and I need an idea for a video because I kind of have to start making these again. But let's get right into it. So jumping into Blender, I just kind of want to go over what the basic scene actually is. So basically, what the scene is basically we just have a ground plane right here. Let me turn on highlights. We have a ground plane right here. We have another plane right here that's going to be our lava. We have this little thing that I just modeled. We have this Ico Sphere connected to another Ico Sphere. And then we have just a bunch of rocks and like the statue and stuff. So the only things that aren't free in this is the rocks and just the ground assets and stuff. I use Quixel Bridge for those, like I do like everything I do, because I have them. But yeah, you can get rock models or anything anywhere. Just make sure they're kind of dark rocks and not like really light toned rocks. But anyways, let's get into our own project file and start doing this stuff. So, basically, okay, so once we're in our project file, give me 1 second, let me move my keyboard. Once we're in our project file, like always, we're going to go ahead and delete our default cube. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that guy right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift and A, and then add a plane mesh. We're going to hit S on our keyboard, and then we're going to hit 10. So this will scale our plane up to 10, 10 units, 10 meters, whatever. And then all we're going to want to do now is hit Control A and then all transforms. This is going to reset your transforms and scales and stuff back to 0 or 1. Yeah, 0. So if I like scale this, for example, you can see that now our scale over here at the, on the right is at 1.173. And that can just mess it up. You just want your scale to be 1, even though now it's actually at 10. It just resets it back to the 1 value. So now once we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and actually carve out our terrain and sculpt our terrain. So how we do that is we hit Tab with the plane selected. We right click, click Subdivide, go down here to the bottom left, and then number of cuts, change it to about 75, 70, 75. You could go actually pretty lower than that, but it's just, that's what I do, and it doesn't slow down my computer or anything, so that's what I do. Now that we have that, we have our plane subdivided. What you can see what subdivisions do is basically just, it subdivides it. It creates more faces, more vertices, more points. It just gives it more geometry. And so we need more geometry to sculpt because sculpting is just moving the geometry. So if we only have 1 face and 4 points, that's not going to get us anywhere. So we're going to go over to the sculpting tab at the top. It has this all set up for us already. And so what we're going to do is basically we're just going to carve out. I should probably give you guys the controls for that. So we're going to be using this draw tool, which is over here. If you hit Control, normally if you just click and drag, it just draws on it, but if you control it, like subtracts. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of carve out a little area right here, kind of like this, just to do this a little bit, and then we have this little path right here. I'm actually going to kind of do that. And what I'm trying to go for is to have this little like path right here. Camera angle is going to be right here. You're going to have lava right here and stuff. You know. One thing I do want to say right here though is on these flat parts, never keep anything completely flat. Even if you want something pretty flat, never keep it completely flat. Just kind of like give it a little bit of clicks right through here and stuff. Just to kind of bring it up a little bit, and don't worry if it's raised up too much, because now what we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift and S, and that'll change this thingy to red. We're now in the smooth tool. So if we go over this, we can now see that we're smoothing out all this stuff. Don't smooth out the little parts, the little raised parts too much, because then you're just gonna what you just did, raising it up, won't matter because a smooth brush is gonna smooth it out. But now that we have this, what we can go ahead and do is we can go back to our layout. We're going to go ahead and right click this and click shade smooth, just so we have that smooth shading right here. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to want the camera angle to be right here or somewhere along the lines of right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up right now. Just find where you want your camera to be in the general area, and then hit Control Alt and 0 on your keyboard. And then what we can do from here is we can click the camera in our hierarchy, and then we can hit G and move it. Hit G and then hold the scroll wheel to move it back. We're going to move it back a little bit. We're actually going to move it forward, and then we're going to decrease the focal length. And then I'm also going to try to get it at a lower angle. So something like that. I'm also going to change it to 1080 by 1080 pixels. And that's just because I like my renders being square. You can do it 1920 by 1080 if you want, but I just normally keep it 1080 by 1080 just because I post them on Instagram and it's square. But yeah, I changed it to 1080 by 1080. Focal length is now 55 meters, and everything's looking good. I actually probably want it to be more like right here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to model this little thing down here. I will also be including the Photoshop process of my renders and stuff. So I normally don't do that, but you guys are getting a gift today. So I'm going to show you guys how I do all my stuff in Photoshop to make it really pop and stuff. But yeah, we're going to start modeling this little metal thing. I don't really know what to call it, but yeah, it starts just Shift A, add a cylinder, and then we can just scale it down. To be honest, since we're not applying any textures or anything to this, we're just going to be using basic materials. We don't really have to do any of the, we don't have to do anything really except for just model the base object. So, just pretty much follow my lead. There's no real exact measurements. You can kind of just play around with this, make whatever you want with it. But here's the basic rundown of how you do it. So you're going to want to hit S on your keyboard, and then you're going to, on the X-axis. No, not the X-axis. My bad. S and then Z on your keyboard to scale it down. What I do, you can hit S and then X, Y, and Z for the X, Y, and Z axes. But what I do, if you have a mouse, and it's a lot easier, it's just like if you start like scaling or rotating or like grabbing anything in the direction that you are pulling your mouse, if you hold down your scroll wheel or if you just press your scroll wheel, it will lock it to that axis. So if I hit S and start pulling this way, I can press my scroll wheel and start locking it like this. So that's what I do. You can do it either way. But yeah, so basically I'm just going to get this. I'm just going to try to look at this for how I did this. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this face, go into edit mode by hitting tab, go up here to face select or hit 3 on your keyboard, select the top face, hit I on your keyboard, and then you can inset the face. And so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hit E to bring it up, lock it on that axis, and then just, my bad, just S and then bring it in a little bit, and then I again inset it, and then I'm going to press E and S this time to bring it out like this. So we kind of like, E and S is extruding it like in all directions. So we can see that we extruded that now. I'm going to hit period on my numpad to focus our object. I'm just going to hit E again, bring it up. I'm going to inset it one more time, do this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these by hitting Control Shift and clicking, or Alt Shift and clicking. So Alt Shift and click is how I just did that. And then I'm just going to click I on this, bring these all down to maybe about right there, and then E and then S on these, and then I'm going to bring them down like this, just like that, and then ES on all these, kind of bring these, and I'm gonna Alt Shift click on this ring, and then I'm gonna bring it down. I'm gonna scale it in a little bit, and so now we have this thing. So this thing is it's looking pretty cool. What I'm gonna go ahead and do for it though is I'm gonna go ahead and click and then shade smooth. And now if you do that, you might notice that this is looking a little bit wonky, and yeah, it is looking a little bit wonky. So we're gonna go over here to this little wrench icon over here on the far right, and then add a modifier, and then add an edge split modifier, and that'll take that away. Click this little drop down arrow to apply it, and then we can go ahead and sit this somewhere. Maybe right here-ish. I'm trying to look at like how I had the composition in this. So I'm just trying to find the camera angle again right now. That looks like it should do it. I'm just going back to this to reference it. So yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get those Ico Spheres. So the Ico Spheres, basically just Shift A, Mesh, and then Ico Sphere. And now once we have this Ico Sphere, what we can do is we can just bring them up here. I'm pretty sure I scaled it 5, but that is way too big for this scene. So just kind of scale it up. Find what a good thing would be. I'd say maybe that. We're gonna have one big one and one small one. So I'm gonna have that right there. I'm gonna hit Control A and then all transforms, and we're gonna add a modifier, and we're gonna add a wireframe modifier. And so with this, we're going to give it a little bit more thickness. Maybe something like 0.5. No, not 0.5. Yeah, something like 0.1 will work. And then once we have that, what we can do is we can go ahead and duplicate this and then scale it down. You don't have to have like an exact, actually F3, hit F3 on the keyboard and select origin, and then origin geometry. That just makes it to where the center point where it's scaling at isn't at the bottom down here anymore. So we can just scale this down a little bit like this, and then just double tap R to rotate it, so we kind of have that like interwebbed kind of look. And so now once we have that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and get our human model. So everything that I use in this tutorial will be down in the description below. So you don't have to worry about downloading everything. Like I said, the only thing that I can't provide is the rock and grass models, but everything besides that is gonna be there. So if we go ahead and import FBX, and then we go to wherever I have the human saved, you will go over wherever you have it saved. I have it right here, and we can see now he's in here. Anything that you do to this human figure, anything that you move, anything that you do, make sure the armature is selected up here in the hierarchy, because the armature is what actually controls the guy. So now what we're going to do is we're basically just going to kind of put him in a fetal position by going up here to the top left to object mode, go to pose mode, and then we're going to grab, you can view in wireframe if you want, and then you can see which bones you're actually grabbing. So I'm just going to do that for the sake of the tutorial, but normally I just like grab the bones. So we're just going to move this here, move this. It doesn't have to look perfect because you're not really going to see a whole lot of the human. Just make sure he's in kind of some sort of like floating, spacey, fetal position type thing. I don't really know. Yeah, make sure to add some variation to like, just make sure he doesn't look stiff. That's pretty much all it is. is making sure he doesn't look stiff. Just make sure you give him kind of a natural movement, or not movement. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry, I just rambled for like days right there. But yeah, we're just gonna kind of put him in this position, kind of have his head down. Then we go back into solid view, and this is what we have. So it's not perfect by any means, but it's, hey, it's what we have. And then we're gonna put this guy in the middle, and then we're just going to kind of rotate him like this. And we can look in the camera, and we can see that's looking pretty good. This one, I would probably lower the thickness of the wireframe a little bit. There we go, that's looking pretty good. We can go ahead and apply the wireframe to both of these. 1 second, let me take a drink out of my water because I have to hydrate during these tutorials. Okay, water's been drank. Okay, now what we're going to do is, I actually want this to be floating, so I'm going to select both of these and bring it up just a tad, like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the lava. I'm going to link the lava shader in the description as well. But just make a plane, scale it up. You don't really have to apply it or anything. And then just kind of put the plane like that. Kind of match it to make sure it's not coming out that far, because then you'll see light in the background. But yeah, something like this. We can also select the original terrain again and then go into sculpt mode. Hit X to go back into draw mode. Maybe kind of bring some stuff up through here. Bring it right here. It's all real camera angles. It's all camera angles, really. That's what you gotta work from. That's one of the biggest things, actually, is just working from camera angles and learning like how to work from camera angles, and not just like put everything into the scene and just kind of do whatever. So yeah, we're just going to do this a little bit, and now we have this. So this plane, how we get our lava shader, once you have downloaded the file and extracted the blend file, you would just go into File and then Append, and then once you do that, I'm pretty sure it's on my desktop. It is. And then you go into Materials, and then this one, it's misspelled, which I kind of find that kind of funny. But yeah, once we have that, what we can go ahead and do is we're gonna hit Tab with the lava plane selected. We're gonna subdivide, and we're gonna subdivide this 100 times. And then once we subdivide this, we're going to subdivide it once again. And then now we can go to our Materials tab, which is this little checkered ball at the very bottom, on the right, and then just pick the lava shader. Now once we do that, we're going to go ahead and switch our render engine to Cycles, Device to GPU Compute if you have that enabled. If you don't have that enabled, go to Edit, Preferences, System, under whichever one your graphics card is listed under. Just select whatever is under both of these. So now once we have that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select our big Ico Sphere, the one in front. We're going to go ahead and give it a new shader with an emission shader with a strength of about maybe 10. And then we're going to give the inner one a glossy shader with a roughness of about 0.125. And so now once we have that, what we can do is go to our world settings, change our color to black. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this light actually because we use these lights. But this light is going to be set at 1000 and have a blue tint to it, so just kind of make it blue. And then do the same thing right here. And so looking at this, yeah, that looks fine. And so we're gonna move this light out a little bit more here. And then we're gonna shift A, we're gonna add a mesh, and then we're gonna add a cube. Scale the cube up to where it covers the entire scene. This is going to be our volume cube. And then under material, click new, and under surface, just scroll up until it says disconnect. And then under volume, select principled volume, and then just give it, I gave it 0.04, I think. We'll see how that works. Yeah, I might use 0.06 actually. So now once we have that, we have that set up. I'm actually gonna hide the cube for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this little whatever it is, engine, whatever, generator, I don't know. But we're gonna click new. We're gonna give it a new material. We're just gonna stay with the principled, metallic at 1, and then roughness at like, yeah, 0. And just keep that. Or actually, I'm gonna put this at 0.12. And then what we're going to do is we are going to take these, and we're just going to we're gonna take these. Let me see how I did it in. Yeah. So we're gonna take these little ones right here, or just one of the rings that you made right through here on this thing. For me, it's this one. So I'm just going to shift click every other face. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add that glow that comes out of every other face on the model. So we're just going to do this real quick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to our materials, click plus, new, emission, give it pretty much the same blue as you gave the Ico Sphere, and change the strength to 10. And so now what we do is we click this little up arrow to put that material on top, and then click assign. And then we can go ahead and click the face on the very top to select the material, and then click assign. And that's going to assign that emission material on top of the metal material that we have going on with it. So once we have that, we can start set dressing, which is my favorite part. So, set dressing. So the main inspiration behind this was the Volcanologist Lab by Quixel. As you can see, there's a lot of inspiration from it. But I'm just gonna download a few assets along with some other assets, and just put them where out in the scene. If you have your own set of assets, feel free to do whatever with those. You can just put them around the scene, make sure just find where they look good at. But the first thing we're going to do, because we kind of need to, is texture our ground. So I'm just going to use this Icelandic gravel texture, because we're not going to be able to see a lot of detail in the ground, but we just need a texture there. I've already downloaded all these assets because I've already made the render. But if you're using Bridge, you just have to download these, export them to Blender, and you'll be fine. If you're using models from an outside source, it's easy just importing them and then texturing them, and so on, so on. So I'm just going to go ahead and export this texture. And one thing I want to say about Quixel Bridge, importing or exporting to Blender, is for some reason the materials don't come set up right. For the most part they are, but I will show you when this exports what I'm talking about. So we have our material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on our ground material, and then just set up that material. So you can kind of see it already. That material is transparent. So the reason it's transparent, if we go over here to the top left under the Blender logo, we can see our cursor turns into this little cross. We can just click and drag to separate the windows, and then go back under the Blender logo, and then go into our shader editor. You can hit N to close this window if it's bothering you. But this normal map is connected to the alpha node instead of the normal node like it's supposed to. So if anything you import, make sure to change that from alpha to normal, otherwise it'll be transparent and it just won't appear in your scene. So now I'm just going to have a little time lapse of me set dressing this scene, putting in all the environment filler stuff. And so yeah, I'll see you guys in a second. once we have the grass in here, I'm just going to move it out like this. And then I'm just going to grab a few of these grass clumps and just kind of put them out here. And then I'm going to select all of them by hitting shift and clicking, hitting Control G, and then making a new collection called grass. And once we have that, we can select our ground plane, go into object mode and then weight paint, and then go into our camera view, because we're going to be judging this by how the camera sees, and just kind of paint along where grass should be. So I'm just going to kind of paint through there and stuff, and yeah, back there maybe. And now we can set up a new particle system by going into the particle properties, new, hair, and then under render, change render as to collection, and then instance collection to our grass. So if we look at our grass, it's looking pretty good. Probably increase the scale depending on what looks good to the camera. And now to actually tell Blender to use where we set to put the particles, go down to our vertex groups down here at the very bottom, and then under density just click group, and that'll put it all there. And now what we're going to do is under children, we're going to click interpolated, we're going to select 1, and then under render amount we're going to select 1 as well, and then we're going to change the number of particles to 500. And now once we have that, we're going to add one more particle system. You don't have to, I'm going to, but it's just some dead shrubs. I'm not sure if like grass or whatever could even grow here, but you know, it'll be fine. So yeah, dead shrubs. I'm gonna export this. I'm gonna wait for that to export. Alright, and so now that we have these, we're going to bring these up here to just somewhere off. And then we're just going to grab some of the dead shrubs. Like this. And then we're going to do the same thing, select all of them, Control G, and then just name them shrubs. And then this time though, we're going to go down over on the left here to this little green triangle. We're going to create, or make sure we have the ground plane selected. We're going to create another group. And then now if we go to weight paint mode, we can see that what we have for the grass isn't going to be affected by the shrubs. So for the shrubs, I'm just going to put some here. Maybe some right here. Some right there. Here. Somewhere like that. Just to give us a little bit of variation. And then for the particle system, just create a new one, and then it's the same thing. Just use your shrub collection, density, group 002. We're going to change the scale of these, but we're going to change the number of them to like 250. And so now that should be good. And I'm going to go ahead and unhide our cube, and we're going to see how it is looking so far. Actually, what I'm going to do is also add a point light, and then just kind of put it right here, and then give it a strength of like 100 with a blue tint. And then now, also for the guy, under the little armature, we can choose group 1. That's the name of the model itself. Just give it a new material and just change the roughness down to something like 0.5 or 0.05. And now we should be able to actually fully view it. So the lava displacement is obviously very high. So if we just select the lava plane and then just change the displacement strength to like 0.1 maybe. We'll see how that's looking. Oh yeah, that is looking pretty great. So actually what I might be able to do is just 0.15 on this displacement. But yeah, that is looking very, very nice. Still pretty fuzzy because of the actual render. But yeah, that's looking really, really nice. One thing I forgot to do though is change the grass and shader and stuff to actually show. So that's fun. Okay, so now we have that, and one last thing we are going to do is we're going to create these little tubes that are coming out. So these are like they're I don't like making them. They're easy to make. It just takes a little bit. So we're just gonna add a Bezier curve, and we're going to bring the curve out, and then we're just gonna rotate it and stuff to be like this. And then we're just going to put one end into the machine thing anywhere, it doesn't really matter. And then we're gonna have one end coming out into the lava like this. Just make sure it looks like a cable or some sort of kind of hose or tube or something. It doesn't have to look exactly like it, but just like make it look at least a little bit decent. Just something like this maybe. And then we go into our curve properties, geometry, depth. Just keep cranking it up until it looks like a pretty fat tube. And now that we have that, what we can do is just put that in the lava there. And then honestly you could just honestly you could just leave it like this, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit more detail. So in this I'm gonna go ahead and turn the resolution up to 12. But if we go to object and then convert to mesh, now we can see that it's a mesh. So basically what we have to do is we just have to go into edit mode and then hit Control R, and that'll give us this ring. We can click and then drag and then put it somewhere. We're basically just going to do this to all of the rings that we have here. I hate doing this, but hey, you do what you gotta do. I didn't mean to put one there. You gotta do what you gotta do, you know? Making art stuff. So yeah, just keep placing these down. They don't have to be evenly spaced or anything, you won't notice. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and first give this a metallic shader, and then we're going to Alt Shift click all of these rings right here. And first I'm going to go ahead and plus and then new, and then just give this a black material with a pretty low roughness. I'm gonna go ahead and assign it to these, but yeah, just keep doing this. And just keep assigning the material along the way. But now what I'm going to do is, okay, I missed that one. I'm going to E and then S, or actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to extrude the faces along the normals by hitting Alt and E. Alt E extrudes faces along the normals, and now we have this type of effect. We're going to go ahead and give this an edge split modifier, and now we have our tube. We have our tube running from it. I'm actually going to kind of be lazy a little bit. Grab this, turn on proportional editing, and just kind of move that like that. Same thing with this part, just to give it a little bit more curviness. And then you can just do the same. You can just duplicate these tubes, and then do that to have them run off like that. And so now we have this. Last step is I'm going to go ahead and add another curve with this on my circle, bring it up, and I'm just going to add a halo to the guy's head. So I'm just going to scale it down, rotate it like that. That's pretty good size. Curve options, depth 0.04 meters. That's what I usually always go with. Yeah, I'm going to change that. And then we're going to give it a yellow emission shader, just some sort of yellow with an emission of 10. And so now if we go into rendered and we wait for this to render, or we wait for it to render in the viewport rather, we'll see what we have made. Alright, so this is what we have made in this video. I'm going to render it out. It'll probably take like an hour or so, maybe. But then once I've rendered it out, I'm gonna throw it into Photoshop and everything, and then yeah, it's gonna be great. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so it's now rendered, and as you can see, this is the render that came out of Blender. It looks alright, but it's definitely not looking how I want it to look. So now time for my next steps: compositing and post-processing, which I do in the compositor in Blender and Photoshop. You don't have to use Photoshop if you have another program that you know, then you can use that. But I don't know what the difference is between them. But yeah. Anyways, so first going into the compositing tab, we go up here to the top left and we click use nodes. This will give us our actual render node and our compositing node. Then we can hit Shift A and add a Denoise node. This will denoise our image and remove those that noise that we have. And just make it look a lot cleaner. This might take a second to composite. That's just because the denoise is like an optics AI. It used to be like the optics AI denoiser, so like it uses your computer hardware. But now if we go over here to the right and click view and then click fit, we can see that we now have it fit in our backdrop, and this is how it's looking. We can see that it's a lot clearer now than in the original. Actually, I can just not be in this window. But yeah, you can see the noise and stuff all through here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the YouTube video, but it's definitely noticeable. Like back here, there's a lot of fuzz through the lights and stuff. But if we go back to the denoise node, once this composites again, we'll be able to see, especially around those lights right there, that the noise goes away. See that? Now what we're going to do is we're going to Shift A and add a glare node. We're just going to put this here, Control Shift click on it, change streaks to fog glow, medium to high, and then wait for it to composite, and then we'll get a bloom kind of effect on everything that's glowing in the scene. We might have to adjust some settings for it, but it'll be a glow. Okay, so I'm going to change the size down to maybe 7. Maybe that will be a little bit, because I feel like this is just a little bit too intense right now. Yeah, that's definitely a lot better. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to save this image. I'm going to save it to my desktop as lavatut.png. And then we're going to go into Photoshop, and we're going to go into File and then Open, and then on my desktop, lavatut.png, And so we're just going to open this up in Photoshop real quick. And the first thing I like to do is add a color curves adjustment layer. So over here on adjustments, we can add a color curves. This basically just controls the midtones, or the shadows, the midtones, and the high tones, your highlights. So I usually just bring this down a little bit, like that. Maybe bring the midtones up just a little bit, bring the highlights up just a little bit. And then let's see, what else should I do? Color balance I also use. For this one I made everything a little bit more blue, so just something like that. And then the next thing I did is I went and added some dust filters. So just file and like place embedded. And then I'm gonna add these dust overlays. I'll leave these specific ones that I use like in every single thing that I make. I'll leave them in the description below, but you can just look up on Google like dust overlay, and as long as it has a dark background, it'll work. Okay, so we're just gonna put this there. We're gonna change this over here on the right to normal to screen, and then once we have that, I'm gonna go ahead and change the opacity to maybe 75 or 50 maybe. Yeah, 50 looks good. And I'm gonna add another dust filter, or dust overlay rather. It's this one, and I'm just going to scale it up to where it covers the entire image. Place the file, screen. I'm gonna change this down to maybe like 20 or 10 or so. And now what we're going to do is sometimes I add a photo filter depending on how it looks. I want to maybe put that on 10. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over, we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to put this layer directly over the original layer, so that way everything on top of it affects it. And it's, we're going to change from normal to color dodge. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the big glowing orb. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit I, and then just make sure to get it to where it's bluish, or just something like that. And I'm going to hit B to go to the brush tool, make sure it's set to a soft brush, and we're just going to kind of do that. Also make sure the flow up here is set to 25 too, otherwise it'll be very, very hard. But yeah, we can just kind of put some on there, maybe put some through here. This is really just up to how the image looks. So I'm going to make that metal a little bit shinier. And then I'm also going to add it to this yellow here. I'm actually going to see if I can get just a yellow. Yeah. Maybe a yellow like that. And do something like that. I'm actually going to bring the highlights down. I'm going to bring the highlights down just a little bit, because it looked a little bit too intense. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our color dodge layer, hit I again, get some of this yellow, and just kind of put it in different spots. Try to put it around the base of the rocks. Get maybe some oranges in there, like that. Make sure to kind of put it on the edge, but not too much. Just keep going like this. And Yeah, get some on the grass over here, some of that glow. Like that. And then if you wanted to, you could just make the actual lava itself glow a little bit more. Like that. Maybe get some more of this blue, put it back here. And I would say that that is looking pretty good right now, at least. So that's looking pretty good. This color balance. I want to try to give it a little bit more of that blue tone. Yeah. See, the second one looks a lot better than the first one, but this is what I have. This is pretty much what I do. Sometimes I'll also, on the base layer, add a tilt shift. Basically all I do for that is just kind of bring this over here toward the top. Maybe have it to where it's just starting to blur the top of that, and then way down here at the bottom to like that. And that's typically what I do. That's pretty much the end, or that's pretty much all I have for this. I might get some more orange. Let's see if I can find a bright orange. Might just kind of do this. Just kind of put some in the foreground. But yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thanks guys so much for watching. My name is Michael from Polygon Island. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Hope you guys learned something. As always, hit subscribe. That really helps my channel out. But my name is Michael from Polygon Island, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.